Jaime back with Brewing Up Creativity with Inky and Scrappy. It's my monthly card series done in real time. It's a class that I teach locally for those who want to come out and learn hands-on from me in person. But I also do it here because, you know, I've already created it and usually I have extras. So I do have some extras this month. I will get them up on Etsy in the next week or so. So if you're interested, it's first come, first serve. So if they're there, they're there. If not, well, they're already sold out. So it is what it is. For this one, and if you have the supplies, please use what you have. Use stuff in place of things if you don't have them, that's fine. So for this one, I use the Lawn Fawn's Bicycle Built for You stamp set. I pulled all of my images from this one, so if that, you know, it's one stamp set on this one, I didn't go overboard. And I did bring in Henry's Spring Build a Sentiment set for the Wishing You Happily Ever After. It fit really good on the banner that comes with the Heart Garland landscape border die, and so I used it for that one. If you don't have the Heart Garland border die, any border, like any garland dies that you would have would work with that. You don't have to put hearts on there necessarily. You don't even need them necessarily. It was just something that I thought would be cute with it, and so I worked with it. The other thing is you're going to need a cloudy stencil for your clouds. Would you have to put them? No, you could totally skip them. I used Distress ink and or Close to My Heart dye ink for my clouds on this one. And usually we just use the Distress mini cubes for our cloud making. A cloud stencil, either one that you hand cut or one that you have bought. Both of those could work. I did use sickles for my glitter accents, and then of course I use Ohuhu markers, so I use the Ohuhu Oahu line. The 60 for classes, I tried to do the 60 color set because I have bought in extras for classes, so we have more than one set to play with, so it doesn't take us as long when we're flipping and flopping and switching markers. But so I used the Honolulu 60 color set. And then, of course, the Ohuhu 36 Oahu skin tone sets for the added skin tone. So those are my class colors. I do bring in some different grays from time to time. So if you want a different gray set, that would work. But the BG grays would work fine with this one. Even the warm grays would work fine with it. I think I brought in the neutral grays for this one just because I liked the neutral grays with this one. But either of the other ones would work perfectly fine, so keep that in mind. I will color on camera today, so bear with me. I started with, so I have my markers kind of set out here. I'm not going to have my images cut. Usually for class, they all come cut and ready to go, just because it's easier and it takes less time. I do use my brother's Scan and Cut for my card. Well, I don't have the matching die set. So the other thing that comes with my card class kits are, sometimes I do a bigger color guide, sometimes I don't. This one will also be found on my blog if you are interested. So that one will be on there. I did the first card in this series earlier this month. So if you're interested in that, you can go check it out on my real-time video. I think it's in my real-time video playlist. So, but this one, I loved the layout on this one. It really kind of, you can switch colors and do whatever you really want color-wise on this one, as long as, you know, you just match your hearts on top for it. As you can see, I already kind of started coloring a little bit on this one. I usually try to color my actual stuff for class before class. Why, you ask? Because I tend to talk a lot during class instead of actually coloring my images during class. So that's why. But for my purples, I'm going to start with V369 and V284 for my two tones of purple. So I'm going to start with that V369. It's my darker tone. And let's see, where do I want to add? I'm going to color my images just a little bit, you know. The bike can have different colors on it in different places. It's just a guide kind of when I do my first one. And then for class, I usually go off kilter because, you know, it wouldn't be me if I did exactly as I instructed, right? Keep in mind the seat on this one you probably won't see much of it. It's always good practice though, so I usually tend to color it. The other thing I like to do is kind of go in and color all of the things that are going to be purple on this one. And then for my flowers, I kind of, you know, it's hit or miss. You have 5 flowers and they're not all going to be in the right spot. I do have an extra veil on this one. Don't mind that. It's just there because I'm missing one in my kit, so I need to add one at some point in time. The one that is missing. I actually think I colored the one with the missing one in class, and so I had to actually stamp and cut one out by hand. So just an extra. Now for my second layer of color, I'm coming in with that lighter tone. You could definitely get away with using the lighter tone for all 3 of your layers. You could even do the darker tone for all 3 of your layers, depending upon what kind of, I guess, color you want to go with, or how dark you want to go. And keep in mind when you're going over things the last time to go over your whole, if you want it to blend well, going over it more than once is going to kind of help get that ink to blend a little bit more. So if that's something that you struggle with, I like to kind of go over, a lot of times I like to go over my whole image with my final layer of color if I think it's not blending the greatest, or I want it to have a smoother transitional blend. And I'm not going to go up there because I don't, that's, you know, there's no blend in that at all anyways. So it's fine if it stays a little bit darker. I kind of want that darker shadow in there. So I have all my purples colored. I can set those off to the side. And what accent color? I did blue in class. I did pink for my, my original one. Let's see, what color do we want to go with today? Maybe I'll go with, let's go with a dark. I'm just going to come in with a dark blush, which is R295. And I think I'm just going to go with one color on this one and kind of show that you don't need to always have all of the colors or all of, you know, you don't have to go with too many markers. If you are new to alcohol marker coloring, it's a good, you know, it's a good to start with just one color and then go from there. So for this one, I'm going to actually do my whole flower, and then I'll come back in after it's dry and do a second layer on there. It'll give you the illusion that you used more than one marker. So I usually like to go over that first layer of color when it's dry. If I'm going to go in with a second layer, or I'm only using, I should say, when I'm only using one color to get multiple, I guess multiple layers. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to add an extra bit to where my shadow is going to be in here, and then in the center on that one. And then I'm going to come back in. Now that it's dry, I can go over the whole thing one more time. Alcohol inks are translucent, so every time you add another layer of ink on top, you're adding another layer of ink on top. So it's going to get darker and more intense. So if that's something you struggle with, that's a good way to kind of look at it that way. Let's see. I did skin tones already, so I probably used the Barely Beige. Let's see, which ones did I use? In here I used E191, which is cream color for the girl. And then I came back in with E494, which is Pastel Peach for my highlight, or I came in first with the Pastel Peach for my highlight tones, and then I did that cream color for the rest of her skin tone. And I did the same on the boy, I think. I did bring in Barely Beige for him, so he's got a little bit different tone on his skin color. So if that's something that you wonder about. Now I'm bringing in some old, and when I say old, I mean these are my original Ohuhu Ohana color. Is it? No. Ohuhu. Oh. I can't talk today. Anyways, this is the old numbering system, but it's basically a dark and then 2 of the middle tones and a lighter of the neutral grays. Definitely feel free to use whatever shades of gray you want. Kind of, I don't know. That's, you know, I usually go in with the dark. So on the pants, I did the same thing. I went in with the dark first where I want my shadows to be. And we need to do the tires. So I like to kind of put, I don't know, I like to think of tires as kind of those triangles or pizza. And so kind of doing it in a visual circle triangle, I guess. Thinking about it as, you know, your wheel's going to have the darker spots and lighter spots. I usually do them the same, but obviously today I'm not listening to rhyme and or reason. And then I'm going to come in with my darker of the 2 midtones here. I'm going to hit that darker area on the tire, just on the outside. I'm not actually coloring that hole because I want to keep that darker. It's not black, but it's definitely darker on the tire. I kind of want to keep that darker just because it's supposed to be black, but I like adding, and you could totally just go with plain black tires and, you know, it'd be fine. And then I'm just going to come in on that hat and add my second layer here. A little bit lighter than that first layer. I didn't use this darker one on there. And I didn't use it there either. Okay. And then of course on his pants and his shoes. I think the shoes I only did 2 colors on. And so I'm coming in with that lighter, that next step down for my gray tone here. And I'm going to hit the cans on the bottom. Kind of the can on the top there, to kind of give it that illusion of a rounded shape. And then of course I'm going to finish up the tire with this one, just mildly hitting that other a little bit darker tone. It'll blend it a little bit better. And I think we're good there. And then I'm going to hit my other gray parts on my bike here. So just kind of doing some drop shadows. Do I want to go this light in? Yeah, probably. I'm just going to finish up my hat. Going over, I didn't go over the darkest tone on the hat. I went over the second darkest tone on the hat with my lightest color. Because I really don't want to bleed out that deep dark one. Because I want it to be lighter just in, you know, I want that dark, I want it to be black. But giving it that gray kind of gives it a little bit more shape. And so I kind of do that with that one. And the cans, I'm going to just hit that area once more. I didn't color in the middle yet. I'll come back once that's dry a little bit and hit over the whole thing. And then I'm doing the same with my little metal parts on my bike here. I forgot to do my pedal. I'll come back into that. Okay, so now that this is dry, I'm just going to come over and do the whole cans again. And that'll help blend them all together. It gives them a nice rounded shape. I'm also going to take this end too and just add a little bit. And this is what I do with the dress on her shoes, and then the boy's dress, or dress shirt. Just kind of giving it a little bit of gray, just to kind of give it that illusion of white. I missed the wheel on this one too. So I'm just coming back in with that NG4. I'm going to hit the inside of the wheel on this one. this part here I want darker, and then the outside of that petal. And then I'll come back in with that NG2 and go over all of my handlebar area and then all of my petal area. And I think we're good there. Oh, I didn't do hair yet. So let's see. I did a thin persimmon on the one I did for class, but we can go with, let's see, yellow here. Yellow 397, and I'm gonna need yellow 191. So Canaria yellow maybe, and then primrose. I think the primrose is from the skin tone set. It's not in their original 60. So usually I come in and I do my low lights in my hair where I think maybe there's going to be some more shadow. And then I like to kind of follow the under swoops a little bit. And then add in a couple of flicks for strands. I really don't, you know, I try to keep these fairly simple. So I'm, you know, they're long font images. They're supposed to be cutesy and not very realistic, right? I hope so, because that's kind of how I color them. And then I just go over with my lightest tone and go over the whole head of hair. This is going to help kind of pull in those darker tones and mute them down just a little bit so they kind of blend in. You could definitely go back and hit them again with that yellow if you would like to. For my brown tone here, I'm going to come in with Burnt Sienna, which is E340. And I'm going to do the same thing to his, I think. Somebody's here. Slowly. And then I'm just gonna, once this is dry, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna color in that whole area. We're going dark brown for his head of hair, just like my husband. And once it dries, you're going to see that you're going to have a little bit darker spots. If you felt like you lost them, go back in again with your marker over the top again. And you can add in another or a third layer and you'll get a little bit of a darker tone. You could also bring in a lighter tone. I think I did Thin Persimmon, but I'm not sure if that one is actually in my set. So let's see. We did 340. So E189, which is the Thin Persimmon, which is in the skin tone set, would work. You could go in darker and go E533. Would be a much darker tone if that's something, you know, you're interested in. I didn't color the basket because I really don't know what I'm doing with the basket yet. So that's about it. So here are my colored images. I'm going to go run them through the Brother Scan-A-Cut. For my Brother Scan-A-Cut, if you have questions, let me know. I think I did it in a live once, but I taped this onto my mat. I'm still using my original mat, and so mats are expensive. I use Scotch tape and tape it to the mat, and it's been working really good for me. I do watch it fairly closely. You know, it seems to be when I step away that there's issues, but I have really good luck with just Scotch tape and using my mat. Once in a while I will scrub it, like with just hot water. I don't want to say soap because you have to be very careful to not scratch your gridding on it. That's the other thing with it, because it uses the grids to kind of line it up. So don't scratch the grids on it, kind of be careful. But I will go with hot water on just the sticky part and scrub it. And then you can always mask it off with masking paper or masking tape and spray it with the pixie spray. And then it'll be sticky again for a little while. I just find that Scotch tape just tends to work really well for me. And then make sure you get all of your Scotch tape off so it doesn't get stuck underneath. But those are my tips for you on the Brother Scan and Cut if you have it. Alright, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so at this point in the card, I've already done this for my class group, but I wanted to include it just in case, you know, you're following along. And so I do kind of a, I guess, a stencil to put my, I don't know if stencil, but a holder. So I just do the negative and the positive are all in there, and I hold it onto my stamp platform with, of course, my magnet on top and then some removable adhesive underneath it so it doesn't shift. And then I can just hit that with some VersaMark watermark ink, and then of course the Tailored Expression anti-static powder tool. Any anti-static powder tool works. You don't have to hit it, but you'll end up with a lot more overage, which can be annoying if you don't like that look. I'm shut up so I can do the speech. I like to hit it from the back first, just kind of help that powder to stick a little bit, and then I'll hit it from the front. My tool is already hot because, you know, I've been doing a few of these. So once I think it's good, I like to make sure that it's all shiny on top. I like to make sure it's all shiny on top, and then if anything maybe looks like it's still got a little bit of dullness to it, I like to hit it again. There's a little bit dullness in here yet, so I'll hit it one more time, but I'll save you. Alright, all cut. So these will just pop right out. And those are the images that I need for today. And see, I just stick it on there with Scotch tape. See how messy it is? It's all good. It works. And then usually I will save this for, you know, another project. I colored on Express It cardstock today. It's my favorite for alcohol ink coloring. It seems to blend very well. Bristol Smooth works pretty good as well. And so those are all available options for you. I think, is it Spectrum Noir has paper too that works well. I haven't used it, so I can't vouch one way or the other, but I hear it's supposed to be pretty good. Alrighty. So we're going to set our images off to the side and pull out the pieces that we have here. So I just cut a hill using a stitched hill die. You can use, I think I used the Slimline one, but there's A2 size ones that are like 6 inches. I cut it bigger than I need. I also cut a overlay piece, and then of course I've already done, we will insert the video of doing that, because I usually do them all before class starts. So for this one, I have a Slimline cloud die. I have several of their die. A Slimline cloud stencil. You can also use the other stencil, or, you know, cut yourself a stencil, skip it entirely, which is totally fine as well. Let's do some pink clouds on this one, just because I guess I could do blue too. Let's do pink clouds on this one. Just because I did pink for that accent color, so I think pink would be some cute clouds. Probably. I just washed all of the things. Okay. I just take it in a dry cloth to kind of buff off any leftover ink that might be on it from whoever used it last. So I'm taking I have mine marked as dye for my dye ink blending brushes. I have oxide brushes that are just oxide brushes. They're not marked at all. But just grabbing a little bit on there. I like to tap it a little bit on the stencil. You could have a piece of paper on the side and tap it. And then just start really light. So I don't have much pressure whatsoever on my brush head here. I'm just kind of going really light with it. I can always pick up the stuff that I've tapped off and come back in. And then when you lift it, you actually see it. It doesn't look like it's there when you start. And so sometimes lifting it, moving it, kind of lets you know that you actually do have some color there. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And if you have a hard time ink blending and you get blotches, sometimes it's just the pressure. Maybe you're starting with a darker tone, and maybe you want to start with a little bit lighter of a color and then build on that color. And, you know, never be afraid to practice. Don't like it, you always have a second side of your sheet of paper, unless you're ink blending directly on your card base, which you could always cover it up with another piece of cardstock. I'm just moving. I like this one for clouds just because even with the two sides you have so much real estate to play with that you really get some good variations here. Let's see here. We'll come back in. I don't think I'm going to need this one because I'm pretty sure the grass is going to be right there. But this way, the other thing is you can just come in with your dry brush and just kind of hit, if you have like some stark white areas, just hit it with a brush that's your brush that doesn't have fresh ink on it, and it'll kind of fill in. But you see I have some darker areas here, and that's fine. Clouds have character, and they're not, you know, all light and fluffy. So this one is longer. I did it this way because if I wasn't exactly perfect with my die cutting on it, it wasn't going to be a great big deal. So the other thing with this one is I kind of want to figure out where, you know, do I want it further down, further up? I mean, for the most part, my bike will sit in this region here, and my sentiment is going to go underneath it. Now, I'm not worried about my people covering up my hearts. I kind of plan on it working that way. So I'm just going to come in and add some liquid glue onto the back here. And I'm not tucking anything behind, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue onto the base since I probably won't have glue in the right spot for that. So, and you do have wiggle room on this one. So if you want it a little taller and your hill's a little shorter than you thought, if you're adding that frame, you have that extra real estate to play with there. And then I'm just going to bring in my scissors and cut those flush with the sides. If you have any hanging off the bottom, cut that flush as well. And then I'm just going to come in and glue on my card front, or my base here. Now, my card front might not be an A2 size. I don't remember exactly what I cut. I think I cut them A2, but sometimes I cut them just a little under A2 so I don't have to worry about them, you know, sticking out. And then I usually add just a dot of glue along on each one of those little hearts to kind of make sure that they stick and nothing is going to get caught when you're taking it in and out of the envelope. And then I'll just line this one up and kind of make sure I have everything covered there. Oh, I'm crooked. I like the fact that liquid glue gives me a little bit of wiggle room. It doesn't give you a lot, but it will give you a little bit if you're quick. So I will just press all of that down. And now we just get to build our, you know, our fun little, you could definitely add this one in already. I probably can do this part because it'll just help me build my scene a little bit more. But you can wait with the sentiment until you are all done. That is fine as well. But you know, because I've done this one, I know exactly where my stuff is mostly going. So I'm going to set that off to the side and bring in my bride and groom here. You can do him in black. I did that on one of my first ones, and it looked like he was, because he didn't have the tie and the top hat on, he looked like a burglar on a bike. And so I was like, yeah, no. So I switched him to the white shirt. He either or works, I guess. It's totally up to you. Now, I like to be a little bit extra, so I come in and do a couple of cuts here just because I want him to be sitting on the seat, and I want, you know, the seat to be between his legs. I also want to be able to kind of play with his hands a little bit here. So if I got him here, I can usually get his hands kind of situated, going either on top of or behind. It's up to you how you want to make that one work. And or look, you can cut those off if you so choose. I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit simpler than, you know, I like to cut off all of the things. I'm not going to lie. I have glue there, so I think we're good. I don't need to glue the whole thing. I just need him to like stay in one spot, right? So I'm going to come in here. I think I'm going to do his hands on top of the handlebar there, and then on the top of this one as well. Oh, let's do it this way. Okay. I'm just going to hold that a little bit so it adheres. So you can kind of see where he's holding. I'm going to add his little tie. And of course, for the one for class, I was a little bit cheeky and I put the girl on the bike and him in the basket because I thought it was funny. So I'm bringing in my reverse tweezers just because it's a little piece, and you know, sometimes I struggle with those little pieces. And then for his little top hat, I'm going to actually cut off the brim here. I don't know. I think it got a little wide this time. There we go. And you don't need to do that part. That is definitely me being extra. So I'm going to add his little top hat here. It'd be kind of funny to have it like floating away, you know, like falling off of his head and like behind him on the ground would be kind of cute too. I guess I didn't think of that. I am going to put her actually in the basket this time. And because she's wearing white, I think we can sneak her in here without a lot of fanfare. I'm just going to cut that slit all the way up to her dress, just so I'm going to try to get it so you can still see a little bit of the basket. Like maybe her dress is just hanging over and not so much. Yeah, I think we're going to throw our hair behind him there. Okay. You can't see the basket anyways. It's all good. I know where she's at. It's, you know. And then I think we're going to do this one. Kind of behind, we'll do the little hanging off the back fender here. And then she's holding her flowers on this one. I will show you the other two that I did, and you can see you got multiple options on this one. So let's see. I will have her kind of holding her flowers. You could definitely just put the flowers in the basket, and you know, her not holding them would work just fine as well. All right. So for this one, I either want to cover up those hearts or I don't want to cover up those hearts, right? So if I have hearts that are showing, I want to glue my hearts down first. This one I think actually fits really good on there this time. Don't worry, none of the other ones fit that good. Just keep in mind not to glue down. So on the top part here, if you're going to have a heart half hanging out, either glue your hearts first or don't glue it down solid. So like this one up here, I'm going to come in here with a purple one. I'm going to tuck that in before I stick them down. Just because I want that heart to be purple or holographic, whichever one I'm using. But I don't want to have to, you know, cut it. So it just makes life a little bit easier. And then we're just going to press that down there. And then I need to decide which one. So this one's purple. This one's going to be holographic, holographic, purple. This one can be, I think we're going to go holographic here just because I don't want purple right next to her. And then I have a bunch of hearts cut out. Let's grab my... So I'm using a jewel picker. This one is a Studio Katia one, but you can get them off of Amazon. It's just like a nail art jewelry picker or a nail art crystal katana. I think they work well for the dot art, and so you can find them in that respect. So I don't want those hearts to be the same color, so I'm going to do my holographic one here. And then I'm kind of going with that same theory over here, trying to make them so they're not like right on top of each other. And granted, you could go with all the same color and then it won't matter. But since I'm doing every other, I like to switch it up a little bit. Maybe. I think we're good there. And then I'm going to come in with my glue on the other one. I like to do it this way. I just find it's easier for me to remember which color I'm supposed to be working with. And then I'm going to come in here with my purple. I think I have some pink ones in here too. It was, I think, a pattern cardstock that kind of had some purples and some pinks. And maybe I want to get that in there. Okay, there we go. Let's see if I have another lighter tone one. There we go. And there are those complete. And then add it to your card base. And then come in with, you can either add it to your card base and then come in with your glitter. I'm just going to come in with my glitter, I think. So I think for class we used Sickles and we did Stardust. I have the Sparkle Glaze from Lawn Fawn, and that'll work. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glitter to her veil here, and then a little bit of glitter to her wedding dress. And sparkly shoes. Everyone needs sparkly shoes. Now for the flowers, I did do little dots on the insides just to kind of do, since I didn't do a two-tone, I guess you could have colored them with like a yellow center or something, but there we go. And let's see. So here was the one we did today. Here's the one that I did in class. Yeah, I told you I was a little cheeky, right? And there should be a third one here somewhere with them both sitting on the actual bicycle. So you do have some options. So you kind of get three little different designs. You see they're placed all a little bit differently on there. So you get, you know, and my clouds are all a little bit different color-wise. And you get some variations. And I think all of my bikes are colored a little bit different. You know, it's all good. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this one. I will have the link up on Etsy. Well, the Etsy link is down below. I will get them up probably this coming week for any of the extras. So I think I have at least 2 or 3 extras from what I did for class. So I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Keep getting inky. Bye.